Good morning, my name is Mark Demare, and today on this YouTube video we're going to be discussing this Yantai Rima 27-ton firewood processor. This is how it came from China. I ordered it from China. It came on a skid. We had to assemble it, but just put the parts together. So I was searching online on the internet for firewood processors, and I used an app called Alibaba, and I came up with the Yantai Rima, and they have several models of machines you can order. But when you order it, you have to order extra part, like special other parts. This is the machine itself with the in-feed conveyor is an option, and the log loader is also an option here. That allows you to load logs onto the machine. Makes it easier to cut wood. Everything works hydraulically, so there's a 15 horsepower motor in the back that if you order it, you can order it electric start. I didn't order the electric start option. I didn't know about it, so mine's manual start. It works very well. So when I ordered it from China, I had to pay half up front before they started producing it, and then I had to pay the second half once it was loaded onto a ship. Okay? And I ordered it in February 2021. I finally received it in December. So it takes a long time. If you're ordering it from China, it takes a long time. And you have to trust them. You know, at the first I was skeptical, should I buy it? Like I had to pay money with it, but it's through Alibaba, it's pretty secure. If something happened, they'd refund you your money. You have to realize there's going to be additional costs. Like they're going to charge you for shipping, but then when it lands in Canada, you have to pay the shipping port there. And then if, like mine landed in Vancouver, and then it got shipped to Toronto, I had to pay in Toronto also. Then I had to get a broker to handle paying the taxes and duties and everything else. The duties were very low, but I still had to pay sales tax on the amount that I paid in China. Well, the product looked well made. It looked the same as the product that's sold in Canada, and it was all bundled up. So we had to assemble it, and it took a couple days in the garage here this winter, and it went good, and all the parts were there. There was no damaged parts or anything, so they did a fairly well job of packing. It's made in China, but if you go on Google and you Google different brands like Red Runner, Valley, they're getting the same machines made by the same company with different options. Some of their options you can't buy directly from China. Now, if you buy it from China, there's no warranty in Canada. If you have a problem, you have to deal with China. You know? So there is pros and cons of buying it direct. It's well made, but it is made. This model here is for home use. I wouldn't recommend it if you're going to cut 1,000 cords a year. This might be a little too small. I think overall, right now we've got 50 hours on it, and it's still working. Okay, so this machine has two controls here, and one is to operate the log loader, and the other arm operates this conveyor that moves your log along the machine into the cutting area. And the cutting area is shielded, and it's safe for safety, for the operator's safety. And you can open this up. This shows the saw and the wood splitter. Okay, we're going to leave it open, but when it's open, nothing's going to run. The hydraulics will still work, but the chainsaw won't cut or anything. So as the log progresses along the machine, there's a stopper here, and right now it's set for 16 inches. Okay, and when you're cutting, this moves out of the way, okay? So that the log can fall after you finalize your cut. You can adjust this by loosening the two bolts, and you can go from 12 inches to 20 inches wide. And then when you pull on this arm, the chainsaw starts cutting, and you pull down and cut through the log. After it goes right to the end, the cut piece falls to the bottom, and the splitter splits it automatically. You got to be aware that you have to keep an eye on it, because if it goes crooked or whatever, it can jam and you get into big trouble. Okay? Depending on the size of the log, you can adjust the height by moving this arm. That adjusts the splitting height. So if you want only half, if you want small wood, you split it in 4. And when you order it, you can get a 6-way splitter head. I opted for the whatever came with it. Another convenience is there's a conveyor, a 10-foot long conveyor that's adjustable. The height is adjustable, and that allows you to pile the wood into a trailer, a tractor bucket, or whatever. You know? So that the conveyors, the speed is adjustable from the back. Another option that this machine has is it's got a kill switch, safety kill switch. So if something jams or whatever, you press the kill switch. Some models I've seen on the internet, you can get a longer belt, which will make it easier to feed the wood in. Okay? Although this one, I ordered the optional log loader that has a feeding motor also. But if your wood is crooked, you might have to work at it. If you wanted to tow it on the highway, you should have an axle with springs and lights and everything else. This one has no lights, so I'm going to be towing it on a trailer. Okay, so the motor is a 15 horsepower Lifan engine, and it's a Honda replica. You can buy these motors at Home Depot. If you Google it on Home Depot Canada, it runs just as well as a Honda motor. And this motor is hooked up to a hydraulic pump, and the one hydraulic pump supplies the hydraulics for everything. Okay? It'll run the conveyor, the saw, the output conveyor all at the same time. So it seems to be running pretty good. It's important to check the oil every day before you start. And it's at 50 hours there. I'm going to be changing the oil at 50 hours. Every day you have to clean it, use an air compressor or air blower, clean all the sawdust, because sawdust builds up around the controls. And the chainsaw oil feeder automatically feeds oil to the chain, but you have to make sure you shut the valve off or it'll leak or empty itself out. The conveyor folds up for transport. Okay, the front conveyor, the feed conveyor is going to fold up. The log loader is going to come apart, and I'll have it all loaded up in my truck there. I haven't seen, the only time I saw it struggle a little bit was when a log went in sideways and the splitter tried splitting the log sideways and it jammed, and the motor started forcing there. So that's why it's important for the operator to be aware of it, and you can stop it from going in. You can reverse the splitter. You know? But most of the time, I operate it at half throttle. There's no need to go full throttle, and it lasts, I think, around 4 hours for 1 gallon of gas. So it's pretty good on gas. Like one feature that I like about this model is the chainsaw doesn't turn until you start cutting. So when you're moving the wood or whatever, the chain is not turning, so it uses a lot less oil. I think for 50 hours we used about 1.5 gallons of oil, which is very good compared to the one we rented before. Yeah, so you have to make sure you adjust the oil flow for the chain, and then periodically check the chain for dullness. Okay, so the chain, you check how tight it is just by pulling on it. Okay? And this is acceptable, okay? Snug. But to remove the chain, you have to remove these two bolts here, these two nuts. And one thing to be aware of is you have to put a rag or something down here, because if you drop anything, it's going to be hard to get in the bottom here. So you remove these two bolts, and this Allen key is the tensioner part, so that's important to be able to adjust it. You remove this, and then you wiggle the chain off. So I have two chains. I have a spare one, so I could take it off and put the sharp one on and keep working or be ready for the next day. You have to keep an eye on the conveyor. Make sure it's tracked, and the dirt builds up around the drum, so you have to clean that once in a while, because that'll make it go track. And I noticed this winter, snow would build up on the drum, and then it would go off track, and it would start jamming inside, and it would stop. So we'd have to adjust that. So we might modify this pan here so that it'll deflect the sawdust a little bit more instead of building up on the hoses. And also one defect that we saw, or that I noticed, is the exhaust from the motor is directly hitting this hydraulic motor, so it's heating the oil up and it's heating the motor up. So I'm going to be making a deflector that'll deflect the exhaust out of the way. Talking about the hydraulic oil, it took almost 3 5-gallon pails of oil to fill up. So it's got quite a big reservoir. The beam, the wood splitter beam, is the oil reservoir. And it's on the other side. Maybe we could show you after, but there's a level and a thermometer that shows you the oil temperature and everything else. Two of these hydraulic switches, like specifically this one here, it came loose and it was affecting the saw. And then there's some other linkages that come loose over time, so you have to monitor that and tighten them up. Okay, so one of the parts that we talked about engineering is this arm here for adjusting the splitter height. It seems to bend easily. Okay, so what you do is you pull on this, and it pushes the splitter on a cantilever system while the steel seems to bend. So we're going to have to improve that design. So when you have small wood, you're only splitting it in two. Okay? Now if you get a big piece, you can raise it up, okay, to where it's splitting it in 4.